Our message today is owners and renters. And let me give a disclaimer very quickly. I own rent houses. I just live up the road in Edmond. I am a local guy. And so I've owned properties for about 15 years. And today, when I talk about owning and renting, I want to make sure you understand clearly, I don't care how you live your life. I don't care if you own a home. I don't care if you rent a home. I don't care if you live with your mama. I don't care if you're in a van down by the river, right? I don't care. So sometimes people, if they rent, they get a little anxious because I'm talking about the differences, and they're like, I take better care of that property than the guy who owns this place. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. Attaboy, attagirl. Today, the stories I will be telling are about people who have lived in homes I've owned. So if you've lived in a home I've owned, then I'm talking about you. Just to be clear. If you haven't, then free your mind of thinking, well, that you're an awesome tenant. I'm happy for you. I really am. But I'm not talking about you today. And you'll see as we go through it, I'm really talking about how you and I function at work. This just happens to be the point of reference, I know. So when you look at that picture up there, can you tell? Go ahead and look. Some of you aren't even looking. There's two big screens right there. If you look at the pictures up there, can you tell who is an owner and who is a renter? No. I see some shading. No. Nobody courageous. I figured back row people, you'll shout out, right? You'll go ahead and you're the risky ones to sit on the back. Takes a step, takes a big risk to sit on the back. So, top one is the owner, and what do you indicate that for? They look more comfortable, right? They're sitting down, they're a little relaxed. Anybody have a different, what's your name? Tony. Let me just say this. Tony, what area do you get to work in? Billing. Fantastic. Tony will be collecting money from you today to bill you for that. The best thing you're going to get out of this day is meeting Tony and all the other people you don't normally see on a regular basis. The most valuable component of this conference that we're providing for you is not the content. It's the potential to build relationship with your peers and colleagues who go through similar challenges you do and can be a great resource and reference for you. Please meet new people. So Tony says up. Anybody go with, yes? Okay, good. I needed somebody to oppose Tony. He needs a good opposition. Okay, so, wow, you have great eyes. What is your name? Bree? Bree, I'm amazed with your eye. I don't even think I can see what you're referring to this close to it. But you're saying the girl has attitude, like check out me and my family. The truth is they're totally stock photos, and I have no idea who's an owner and who's a renter. I don't. But it just sets us up for this thought. In your work environments, people from the outside all look the same. They're coming in, they're doing a job, they're contributing where they contribute. Man, you guys, are you all at 9,000 now? Sweet mama. You must wake up every morning and be like, I am going to work today. Like, it is beautiful. I'm jealous just driving down Broadway Extension looking at it thinking, I could be in that building that is beautiful. But I'm driving down Broadway Extension. So I'm sure I've seen how it's laid out. It's just fantastic. But when you go from little cube to little cube to little cube to office and you get lost back in the way that there's like 3 different hallways coming around the kitchen, I was like, which one do I go down? There's elevators and I don't know what this is. There's more cubes over here. So there's a lot of similarity in appearance, but there's an entirely different determination between someone who is owning their role and someone who is renting. And here's the way that I kind of break it down is this. Gallup every year does a state of the American workforce. And they pretty much come up with the same statistics. They've got a point here and a difference there. But it's generally this idea. 30% of Americans are engaged. And the way I define that as owners, right, is that they are bringing their heart, head, and hands. When they show up to work, they're energized, they've got ideas, they've got a little passion. They come bringing more than just their bodies. Their mind and their heart is also in the game. Now, 50%, half of you in the room statistically, are disengaged. Now, the beauty of the disengaged, who I call renters, is they actually do a job. They show up right on time because they know when they're supposed to be there, and they show up right at that moment. They do the job defined for them, and then when the day is over, they leave right at, it's like they're waiting for the second hand to hit. Did my job, thank you very much. Another great day at work because I did what I was supposed to do. I did the function of my job. And at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock, I took my 15-minute break like I'm federally allowed to do, or whatever, right? They're like on schedule with what is the minimal expectation. So they do a function. So thank you, renters, for doing a job. It's better than the 20% actively disengaged, right? They are the vandals. They are not just people who are not working to their full capacity. They are harmful to our team. 20%, that's 1 in 5. That's scary. You're not bringing spray paint and thinking, ooh, 9,000, I'm going to go in the bathroom and leave my mark. Or some of you might have like scratched your name in somewhere when it was being. But this is more about the team destructiveness. Gossip is the best tool that the vandals use for creating division, for bringing harm, for impacting. Some of you are silent saboteurs, vandals. They'll sit in meetings, say, we're rolling this new plan out. And you're like, that ain't never gonna work. Like, who made that decision? Like, somebody should have asked me. Just wait, right? And instead of contributing to the success, you point out every time and every reason why. I told you that wasn't going to work. I told you it's going to be really hard to do. A new software implementation, it's not going to work. It's never going to take. It's just going to be, and all these good excuses, and so you silently sabotage. You don't actively, you just wait, and then 6 months when something doesn't work, you're like, I could have told you that. I told you 6 months ago this was never going to happen. Like, you're the kind of people that are vandals. And really, extracting you is the solution. Because you're destructive. You're harmful. You are a source of yuck to the rest of the team. That's an official term. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the 5 distinct differences between someone who is an owner and someone who is a renter, and we'll have a brief mention of vandals. So here's what you will find. I'll give you a heads up right now. You are going to find yourself in both categories. You hopefully will see lots of characteristics. You're like, freaking A, I am an owner. Or you might go, oh, dang, I am renting all the way. What will happen is you will find in both categories yourself revealed. Here's another thing that might happen. You might start looking across the table and thinking, oh, no, they're a renter. I know that for sure. Holy, I wonder if they're hearing this. Yes, they are. And I know you're thinking other people might be missing it. Like, oh, you know who needs to hear this. Yes, they do. But you're in the room today. So I always encourage people, I'm sure there's folks you're thinking of who aren't here, but they're not here. You are. So it seems you're the one who needs to hear this first. And then maybe we'll get the message to them. So be conscious of that way, not to let your mind drift to all these other people you're identifying with these characteristics, and go ahead and own it for yourself today. Thank you very much. Let's jump right in. The first difference between an owner and a renter that I have found, again in my experiences, is this doggone deposit. Bought my first house up in Edmond, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,350 square foot in the year 2001. For a whopping $77,000. That's what I'm saying. They're just not selling them for Edmond for $77,000 anymore. And so when my wife and I purchased it, because it's an investment property for us, we put 20% down. So 20% of $77,000, billing, Tony, billing. Okay, no more math questions. I understand it's still early and you're processing cinnamon rolls. $15,000, roughly $15,000, which is a honking lot of money for my wife and I. But that's what we put down when we bought this first house because we're going to try to make an investment out of it, get a return on it, and we're planning on keeping it a really long time. Still own it today. My first tenant, when I moved him in, do you know how much he gave me for a deposit? $500. Exactly. That he did. He gave me $500. $500, $15,000. Notice the difference? Both deposits are meant to have a bit of teeth, right? We don't want you just to up and move, up and leave. We want you to commit to the property, but they both represent a level of risk, right? If my tenant left, he loses his $500, and he just so happened to do that. If I stop making my mortgage payment and just stop being responsible, I lose my deposit invested, right? The bank will come and happily take it away from me. And so it measures the risk. Oftentimes, when we think about commitment, what's our big commitment in an organization? People like to use time. And in an organization where you guys have people that are newbies, less than a year, and then people that have worked here longer than some of you have been alive, right? Some of you are youngins compared to people that have worked here for decades, right? So there's this kudos. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying it is true. You are in a work environment that has decades of different experience. And just because someone has been around for 30 plus years, that's not necessarily the best measurement to say they're an owner, but it also doesn't disqualify them from being an owner. Sometimes people have been around a long time and all it says is they have a really high threshold for pain, right? They can endure longer than the rest of you. Right? They'll just tolerate, and then you people will go away, and they'll still remain. While others take hold of vision, run with that thing, and they're still a driving, leading force decades into their career. And so time is not a real effective metric for whether you are bought in or not. My philosophy is this. Those of you that have started recently, you probably showed up as an owner. You probably showed up with ideas. You probably showed up with passion. You're like, I'm just so excited to be here. I have a job at a great company with a beautiful building. I love getting to come to work every day. And then you come to meetings. You're like, hey, I've got an idea. Hey, I worked at this place. Hey, I had this idea. And people sitting around have been there a while are like, oh, God. Like, how long is this going to go on until you stop, right? Because that's what an owner does. An owner is continually wanting to contribute and offer and bring passion and ideas. And sometimes teams just crush their little spirits. They just take that owner and they just squish them into being a renter. Because they're like, just wait, we'll tell you no, we'll disappoint you enough, you'll come and then you'll stop offering ideas. And we can just get back to business like normal. Doing what's least expected of us, right? That's what a renter thinks. And so for us, and hello, mission accountable. How great is that theme? Either you're inspired or you're frightened by that idea. Because it really reflects. What I have found, these are the two greatest factors for you to personally measure your own level of ownership. At what level do you contribute ideas, suggestions, thoughts with your team, with other teams? When you read the mission and the vision, and how do I see myself contributing to those in my work environment? This really reveals where your heart and your mind is at. Because again, every one of you show up and work, right? Working is the easy part. It's staying passionate. It's being willing to offer thoughts when you're sitting in a team meeting that's quiet and it's awkward and it's risky, right? That's what the deposit is. That's what the commitment is. How you measure your commitment is the willingness of risk to put yourself out there and say, I was thinking about this over the weekend, or I saw another company that does something similar and I thought we could use this idea that way, right? All of you are at risk when you expose your thoughts. Because a lot of people attach themselves to their ideas, which is never a great idea, but it happens frequently. How you treat my idea is how I feel like you treat me. So if I get shot down in a meeting, then that hurts my feelings. And so oftentimes people prefer not to have their feelings hurt, or they don't want to look like an idiot, so they just keep their mouth shut. And stop contributing, which converts you right into a renter. Turns you right into someone who's pulled back, and your level of commitment only goes as far as your willingness to risk exposure to your heart and your head. Accountability, on the other hand, mission accountable today, I got a feeling it's just going to be so good. Here's what I found about accountability. It's hard on both sides, depending on how you're wired as a person. Some of you, what's your name? Deidre. So let's say Deidre and I are colleagues and peers. And I say to Deidre, I got a wife, I got a kid, so you already feel for me. You know what I'm going through. I have a hard time getting to work on time because I got all this stuff. I'm making sandwiches or blah, blah, blah. So you get it. So Deidre, help me. I want to be held accountable to you to get to work on time. Some people have a hard time with that side of accountability. Being able to say, I want to share with a colleague an area of weakness in my life. Men and women, but men have a little more ego by DNA, but both genders, some of you have difficulty based on personality saying, I have a weakness. Because you feel like, I'm a professional. I don't have weaknesses. I'm a professional. I do everything awesome. Right? So you're delusional is what they call that. Self-deceived, some of the worst kind of deception. But when you're able to share that with the colleagues, it's really hard. Me, I stink in so many ways, I'm happy to put it out there. I'm like, Deidre, let me just give you a list of ways I suck. And so one of them is, I have a hard time getting to work on time. Help me be accountable. So that's one side of accountability. The other side is what I'm asking Deidre to do, to hold me accountable. My personality, I'm not really good at that. If we reversed roles and Deidre came to me, I was like, Deidre, I'm on it, girl. I'm on your team. I'm going to help you get to work. And then tomorrow, when Deidre shows up to work late, I'll be like, Deidre, I thought you were trying to get to work on time. I know, Greg. Well, I had this. Well, there was construction. Okay, I get it. No worries. I get it. I feel for you. She showed up to work the next day. I'm like, Deidre, I thought you were trying to, what? Come on, girl. I believe in you, right? I have no teeth. I'm not wired really well to be like, all right, girl, give me like $5. Every minute you're late, you give me $1, right? You give me, tomorrow you're late, you give me $2 every minute. I'm not really great at that. I know that about myself, right? So if somebody asks me to hold them accountable, a colleague, a peer, that's a high level of commitment I'm making because it's so against my grain. And yet it reveals my commitment to Deidre and to our team. Here's what you find. You don't have sustained excellence without ongoing accountability. Never do you have sustained excellence without ongoing accountability. You as a person, you will never achieve sustained excellence that you peak and go, I am riding this thing. All of us can do one-offs. All of us can do the amazing for a moment. One project, one situation, one experience. But to do it consistently over time, for us as human beings, doesn't happen without accountability. And in a team environment, we may come and pull together and do something significant, but it's not a consistent pattern of our life if we haven't implemented some sort of accountability peer-to-peer, right? It's not always my one boss has to hold all of us accountable. It only effectively works when we as peers go, we're going to be committed to one another enough to hold one another accountable on these things that we've defined as what's important for me, what's important for you. If you want excellence, if you want to hit ongoing amazing, accountability is required. Period, bottom line, you cannot have excellence sustained consistently over long periods of time without accountability. So that's why Mission Accountable, what it's saying is we as an organization are committed to achieving excellence. And we realize this component is so essential. And we as people really want to find out which side is hard for us. Is it hard? Some of you, is it hard to go, I'll be held accountable? You're not my mother. I don't need you telling me what to do. I don't need no, right? Some people have that kind of response. Other people are like, it's all right. I understand grace. Right? And so it's both sides has some difficulty to it depending on how you're wired as a person. Understand that about yourself and then work with it. So contribution and accountability, your willingness to do either of those reveals your level of commitment. It's good for you to self-reflect. It's good for you to evaluate. I don't do like an assessment on a 1 to 5. Are you committed? But you want to think in those terms as you go throughout this day, even as you're taking in all of the content and some of the great resources that's being provided for you, kind of consider it in that way. The second distinct difference between a renter and an owner is the value. As an owner, I am constantly wanting to increase the values of my property because I'm a buy and hold guy. I'm not a flipper. I'm not a rehabber. My strategy is this: buy a nice house, put nice people in it, pay my mortgage. That's the strategy. It's a long term. I'm not handy. I'm not helpful. I have to pay for everything to be fixed, and it's grueling. So it's nice house, nice people, pay my bills. So when it comes to increasing value, there's a house up in Kelly Park. I own a house in Kelly Park, and the family that lives there is like a Brady Bunch family. Mom, dad came together, brought children with them, several children with them, all different ages, and of recent, the older ones have started populating the earth themselves and are kind of rolling in the grandbabies in the house too. So it's like 6, 7, 8, 9. You just never know how many people will be in that home at any one time. You probably know people like that or know families like that. And they're fun. They're great people. They just have, it's literally a generational kind of home happening there. Well, the mom has the good fortune to get to stay home, right? So she gets to do just mom domestic engineering responsibilities, and dad is working. And so dad calls me one day and says, "Hey, Greg, our oven is arcing." And I'm like, I don't know anything about welding or ovens, but I don't think those two should be happening. I don't think you should be arcing anything. And so I went over, and sure enough, the bottom burner had pulled apart. And I said, well, first things first, stop turning it on, right? That seems dangerous to me. So we will get you a new oven, right? As a landlord, I buy ovens and stoves and all those kind of things. And stoves, ovens, all that, appliances. And while I'm there, the mom says to me, "Hey, Greg, our stovetop, only one of the 4 burners works." I was like, what? Like, there's like 2 mediums, 1 big, 1 small. And she was like, "Yeah, it's just one of the mediums was left." And I said, "Well, why didn't you call me?" Like, again, as the landlord, I pay for big items, appliances, and you don't. "Well, one went down, and so we just moved to," and she's like cooking every day, a lot. And she's like, "We just stopped using one. Well, then another one, we tried to fix some, and it didn't really work. And so we just moved it." And I thought, what in the world? So she now is cooking on 1 medium burner, right? Way less efficient, way less effective, painful, it seems to me. And when we had stove tops that did that, 1 went down, my wife and I talked about it. If 2 went down at the same time, there were no other conversations happening in our home. Right? What else would we talk about except get the stove fixed? Right? That's it, because we're own. So it's interesting to me, they didn't even have to pay for the stove being fixed, and yet they didn't make effort to change it. Because this idea here of increasing value or just maintaining is a total mindset. It's not based on what you have resources for. It's based on how you think about what you do as a person, right? So at work, people who are continually wanting to grow as a person, as a team, in our offerings and our services and get better. How do we get better, right? There can be annoying people. They're like, chill out. But there are others who are also like, hey, what we do is good enough. I mean, really, compared to our competitors, we kill them, right? We're awesome. But for our expectations, they're good enough. People have that for their mindset, their own mindset, their own thinking about who they are. And what I found with renters' mindset, it doesn't matter that they don't even have to, it's not their cost to do it, right? Some people are just content to just get by. It's a less efficient, less effective, but you know, what else I got to do? Some people are really good at taking 2 hours worth of work and turning it into 8 hours. Again, don't look at the people at your table. I know you're like, you know, when you get to like the laugh like that, you're like, I don't want to look around. You can look down. This is where you can get on your phone. Also, you just start scrolling. He's not talking about you, is he? But it's this idea that sometimes people think, well, Greg, here's what you don't understand. I don't have access to a budget. Like nobody comes and says, hey, how do you want to create more value around here? Here's a blank check. They don't do that for me, so what am I supposed to do? I'm low man on the pole. I don't have any ability to affect change. How am I supposed to increase value? I mean, if they invited me up to the top floor, if they invited me to come in and off my, then I have all kinds of ways. But nobody's asking me. Nobody's like sending me emails saying, come to the office and share with us all kinds of ways to make us better. Because you live in reality, and that's not the way reality works, right? So, because I don't believe in excuses, here's what I have found. There are ways you and I can increase the value and be the absolute lowest person on the totem pole. And here's what I found that it is. Well, that's a huge jump down. Let's see. What do you get to do?
I do appeals and Department of Insurance complaints.
All right, I better move on. That sounds like a little much. Oh, no, I'll go with you. I'll take the risk. So, what's your name?
Samara.
Samara. Like Tamara, but Samara.
Correct.
All right. Samara today. Here today is Samara. Samara, you're in what complaints?
Yeah, I'm in
Is that the actual title?
My actual title is Special Risk and Appeals Analyst or
Ooh,
something
I like that. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds sexier.
Better on a business card.
I deal with people that are annoying. It's risky. So tell me like an experience that you've had recently that you get to do, like something in the function of your job.
Well, we got in a Department of Insurance complaint from the Department of Insurance, and we got the insured also sent in an appeal, so we were dealing with both at the same time, trying to respond to them and to the Department of Insurance.
Holy smokes. Okay, so here's what I would say, Samara. Is that right?
Yes.
Samara. I love that name. Have you guys met Samara? If you haven't, today is your day. This is Samara. Stand up so they see you, because they're just hearing you. Okay, look on this side too. Yeah, so Samara. So here's what I have found, that when people don't have budgets, they don't have any authority, they have no ability to make any decision, you are bottom runger as far as chain of command. You still have an opportunity to create value, to increase the value of the organization. One of the ways is encouragement. And I'm all peer-to-peer, right? This isn't a supervisor. This is peer-to-peer. Samara and I, we work together. And I could say to Samara, you know, one of the things that I appreciate about working with you is when you're dealing with these very challenging, scary, I find them frightening, the ideas of this ongoing difficulty, you maintain this level of calm that I think in working with both of them really helps us get to what really needs to be dealt with, and you minimize drama and the emotions that people bring to it. You do a really great job of just really diminishing that, and to help bring solutions, you do that consistently with a calmness that I find admirable. So it makes me proud to be on the same team with you. So I do that to Samara, and Samara's like, that's what I'm talking about. Here's what you'll find. So I'm going to come to this. People generally, like yourself, think you do a good job. You think pretty good of yourself. Samara thinks, I come in here, I deal with difficult people and stupid situations and challenging stuff, and I do a pretty good job with it. So when I use encouragement to say, Samara, I think you do a good job, it validates what she already thinks about herself. Not in some lofty, egotistical way, just as a general human way, like she's coming in and trying to do her best. So when I point out the specific, and I do need to say this, there's a difference between great job, great job, great job. You work here? Great job. You're awesome. You're the best. I can't believe how fantastic you are. Awesomeness, right? That's a sugar hit. We all like a moment of that, but it's a sugar hit. It's like, whoa! I feel good saying it. They feel good hearing it. And then like 10 minutes later, we're like, crap, we're dealing with stuff again. But when I do a specific, what gives encouragement weight is the specificness. When I say something specific about who she is or what she's done, it creates a depth that then Samara says, dang it, I am doing a good job. Greg did notice. I'm going to keep doing it. Right? I'm increasing her value because I'm validating who she already thinks she is, who she already is trying to bring. And so that inspires, encourages, and helps her go, I'm going to keep doing this. Because it feels a lot like nobody notices. Feels a lot like I'm maintaining and I'm doing and nobody notices. So for someone to notice and then beyond saying, Samara, I just think you're awesome, which feels good. We all like that, but it has no sticking power. It doesn't increase the value. It's a sugar hit for the moment. But when you get specific, it really increases her value because now she's validated and she keeps going. And an amazing thing transpires. It's this cycle of positivity. It's almost weird. Samara now values me more than she did before. I'm not manipulating. I'm not being insincere. When I go and I genuinely say, I notice this about you. I admire this about you. I'm glad I like being on the same team with you. She goes, I like that Greg. I like when he's around. I don't know. There's just something about him. I'm validating her. That's what it is. It's not a secret, and I'm not doing it so she likes me. I'm not trying to manipulate her or trick her. I'm trying to invest in her. I'm trying to consciously say all I have are free words, but I can use my free words to build up my colleagues in a legitimate, meaningful way, and at the same time, it increases my value. And it does this thing where both of us become more valuable to one another, and then lo and behold, if I come back to Deidre and I say something to Deidre about something she does specific, she values me, and she feels more valued. And if I do that once a week, there are lots of people I'm connecting with in a very intentional way that I'm increasing their value because of how they feel validated, and I'm increasing my value because I'm contributing that to them. Right? It's risky. It's back to number one. I'm taking a risk to contribute an observation. I'm making an observation. I'm paying attention enough to my peers and colleagues, and then putting it out there where they're like, whatever, right? That's risk to be vulnerable to share what you admire about someone else. But man, the return on that thing increases the value overall. The other element is this investment idea. And again, it's kind of like those, well, nobody gives me $1 to do anything with. And what I have found is we live in a resource-rich society. There are ways, let's say Samara, I see her and I validate her and I'm all excited about her. I just appreciate being on the team. And then I say, you know what, I've been reading a book. It's a really good book. I like this. It's about thinking and habits, and you seem to have some great habits. So let me just give you this, The Power of Habit book, Duhigg. You can get it. You can probably get it on Overdrive. You can get it at the library. I'll buy it for you on a Kindle. Let me send you a link to it. So many different ways that I don't have to spend any money. Or I can say, hey, watch this dude. He has his own little YouTube channel. I'm going to send you links to it. I just think kind of the way you operate and function, I want you to see some of these things because I think it'll resonate. I think it'll help you in who I see you becoming as a leader, as an influencer, as a professional, here as a colleague of mine. Investment doesn't mean you spend anything. It means you consciously offer a resource. There are podcasts, videos, books, people. Hey, I want you to meet somebody. I'm hanging out with this person. We're going to coffee next week. Samara, I want you to come with me. Because resources, there's nothing better than a relationship as a great resource. It's a strong person outside of our organization, but the way they think and they're a part of something, I want to expose you to that. It doesn't cost me a dime. I might buy your coffee. You might buy your own coffee. We might buy his coffee. Who knows? But it's being able to say, I can make an investment in you. I can be responsible to do that and not have to feel like, I don't have any ability to do that. It's not true. You do. You have all kinds of ability. It's you choosing to make that kind of investment. It's you choosing not to allow excuses of what you don't have to conquer the free words and the free society of resources we live in that you do have to offer to others. It challenges you to be reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos, growing as a person. But when you're doing that, it's easy to share. Because you're like, ooh, I heard this thing, and I think it's really good. It's just a 10-minute little video. It's like a little TED Talk. I want to send you that link. Watch it if you want, don't. But it's me being committed to make an investment in you. And that's the way you and I, regardless of where we are on the org chart, can invest, can increase the value of our organization and team. So here's what I want you to do. At your table, you're going to have conversations because I want to help facilitate you connecting. At your table, discuss. We're going to take a few minutes. And Ryan's going to put some music on. We're going to talk with one another. What are ways that you have experienced encouraging people that has been good organizationally in a team? What are ways that you think would be good ideas? Like, wouldn't it be cool if you can have some brainstorming? You can talk about other places you've worked. You can talk about people you've worked with. Any conversation at your table about what are ways that I've been encouraged or I've tried to encourage or I've seen it done that I think is really interesting. And then I'm going to come around and we're going to have several different ones of you share out. We're going to do this twice today. So if you don't like the people you're sitting at the table with, slowly get up and move. When we all shift and start talking, there are some open seats, other places that you can do. So look at each other, and if you only have a handful and you want to go to another table, you're like, I'm by myself, or there's only two of us, go to another table. Just invade their world and have this conversation. We're going to take about 5-6 minutes to do it. Ready, set, go. Ways to encourage and invest in people. Here's what I think I'll do. If I can have everybody bring it back. I have a microphone in my hand. I'm going to come to tables. Here's kind of how I'm wired. I would love it if somebody volunteered, but right at the moment, I'm going to head back to the back row since that's where that's where the people are who want to be most participatory. And I think I'm going to go back to this back corner because like back row, corner, that to me reflects people that really have thoughts and perspectives that are broad. So we'll come over to the back corner tables area over here. So are you guys ready? Is anybody over here paying attention, listening? Why don't you...
Can we go second?
No, you're going first. Wait, you're ready? All right, who wants to be our spokesperson? Stand up, tell us. All right. So almost very back corner. Tell us your name, what role you get to play.
My name's Bree. I'm in customer engagement.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
We're sorry.
I don't know where I'm going with it.
What's that?
Do I just read off over here?
Oh, no, just give me like one or two. I don't want the whole list.
We got a list.
No, I just need like one or two top ones. You said, this was a really great, right? We're looking for the best of the best that you're like, oh, these are good. This was interesting. We like this. That kind of thing.
For investment, we have open conversation or open mic of our ideas.
Like this. You love a microphone, Bree.
Like this,
Come on, Bree. That's right. All right, so Bree's likes an open mic. I'll give you the rapper version.
We can like share our ideas of what nobody can be nervous about it. Everybody can have an idea.
Are you talking like on your team when you get together?
Yes. Like meetings to have open ideas and sharing conversation.
Okay.
And then, time management, lead by example, to show people that haven't been here for a while, like what you do as a person, why you're here, how to invest properly in your company. We feel like encouragement is like try to keep an upbeat environment.
I'm going to shut you down on that one. So what's that? So upbeat environment, how do you do that?
So you be positive and approachable and
approachable.
available.
Yeah, those are good. All right, Bree, give Bree a big hand. Thank you very much. You guys are free and clear now. They're back corner unless you want to go. That back corner over there, they're excited about it. I'd like to invite all of you to come to the very back corner table that didn't. Let me just say this. One of the things she said about open ideas and conversations. Here's what I know to be 100% true. Every one of you have thoughts and opinions. When you're sitting in a meeting and discussions are happening, I've been in lots of meetings where people will stay quiet. And sometimes I'll have a delusional leader who thinks people's quiet means they agree. And I'm like, you are ridiculous. It means it's not safe enough for them to offer an opposing idea, right? It's not safe enough to go, I don't know about that. So in that work with accountability, and we're not going to dig deep into it at all today, what it reflects is a low trust or culture versus a high trust culture within your teams. And so what you don't work on is how do we share ideas better? It's how do we grow trust in our team. And trust is, though it seems very mystical, there's a very tangible and practical approach to growing trust with people. because it is based on tangibles that you do and don't trust. And so when it comes to idea sharing, it's not that people lack ideas, it's that people aren't safe to share them. And so what you don't do is try to deal with the fruit, you try to deal with the root, which is how do we grow trust in here where everybody has a level of comfort and safety that they can express their ideas without a fear of retaliation or rejection or outcast and like, ooh, I can't believe you said that, right? Because we all have ideas that are meaningful and matter. And here's why this is so important. And then we'll get a couple more, but we're not going to talk about this today. So she opened the door. Bree practically asked me to do this. All of you think your ideas matter. Like you think your idea is a good idea. You really do. And so when you don't feel comfortable sharing it, you walk away from meetings thinking, I mean, all those were nice thoughts that everybody shared, but they weren't my idea. And my idea was the best idea. And so that's why it disconnects. Low trust harms teams because it disconnects because when you walk away, you feel like I didn't get to give my best. And so it's really, really essential. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's not about we all got to be willing to do that. We've got to build an environment within our team that is high trust. Who wanted to go next? Okay, right here. Sorry, I got caught up. Stand up if you can and share with us who you are, what you get to do, that kind of thing.
Okay. My name's Kayla Sherman. I work in the billing department. And
You know Tony?
I do know.
Okay, yeah. That's why I'm like, billing. I know somebody in billing, but I didn't want to brag. Go on.
I've only been here for a couple of months, but it's been great so far. And I found out in my group there's this thing called high fives and kudos, but it's never been really introduced. So maybe it needs to be reintroduced or...
Tell us what you learned about it. What they were just sharing about it, that it sounds like, and you're like, that would be cool if we actually did that,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to do with the
Encouraging your coworker, somebody who's helped.
According, what are the 5? According to, no, I'm saying, is it the 5 values? Is
yes,
it the
the
5?
values.
Okay.
And it helps encourage
Mhm.
everybody on your team or everybody in the department.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, maybe it needs to be published on the AF website. Maybe every person that maybe gets one of those can be posted on the website saying, hey, this person did this and it was really great. Or
So an overall, we're like, hey, we're giving high fives and we're putting it somewhere publicly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So did you learn about it in your orientation or your onboarding, or you just kind of discover it within your teams? She learned about it right here today.
Right here, and I saw
That
it
was the
posted
plan.
on some people's
That's part
desks.
of the plan. Okay, you saw it on desks? Is
On
it a
desks.
written?
There's something, like a coin
Okay.
or something.
Okay.
So they have the...
So there's still some education that could be done. So here's what I'm hearing, Kayla. You haven't given anyone a high five
No.
because you didn't even know to give them, which people are missing out because you probably noticed some things and learned all that. It's so good that we're here having this conversation today. Thank you very much. Somebody's taking notes somewhere. All right, we'll come to this side over here. Who on this area over here? Back corner? Are you giving me back corner over here, love? What? Okay, just and when I see an over-the-head clap, I think that's like somebody drawing me to them. So I know, I just love it. I love it. Stand up, Teresa, and tell us everything you're thinking. I know. The excitement over here. Back corners, I'm telling you, it's the place to be.
Okay, hi, I'm Teresa Kalilian, I work in the benefits division.
All right, so it feels beneficial.
Yeah, I think encouragement and investment, we were discussing how you need to get to know each other.
Okay.
And invest in each other, support them,
In what way? Like that's a great, so supporting people is an investment in them when you know who they are.
We're a team, and if someone, I don't know, if you get to know somebody and maybe they're going through a divorce or something.
Mm-hmm. People
and they
do that.
need just a little extra help. How can I help you with your job? Encourage them.
Place to live.
Not my house. Also, when you see differences, especially in management or something, let them know that.
In what way? Like when you say that, differences?
Meaning that the environment is getting to be more positive.
Oh, okay.
more
So you're pointing out
pleasurable.
like, hey, this is really
Yeah,
working,
it's like,
something over
okay,
here.
Whatever y'all are doing, or whatever classes you're doing, it's working.
Yeah.
'Cause we really
Keep
enjoy
at it. We
Yeah.
like you now. So that's good.
But especially encourage, and if you're in a team meeting, you've made some comments up there about people that are quiet and that'll never work. Okay, they're negative. Don't try and express those. Try and find
Right.
something positive to say.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it.
Yeah, I think we've heard that before.
Because if you're doing negative, you're not encouraging and you're not investing. So find something that you can say good. Especially, we've got a lot of new employees. So,
Absolutely.
you know, talking about past yuckies is not the way to go. So.
Good job. Thank you very much. Anything else?
Nope.
You're good. All right, thank you. Give Teresa and the benefits a big hand. Excuse me. So, yeah, it's amazing how people like to live in the past, and new people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you so ugly and mad about that still? Like, I'm not that person. I wasn't here then. Let it go. It is a new day. So, you considering thinking about being purposeful, here's what you'll find. If you're not intentional, you'll walk around thinking, oh man, Teresa's awesome, and then forget to tell Teresa. It'll happen. You'll be like, Bree, I appreciate Bree saying I'm saying that. Some of you need to write that down and do it afterwards because you're thinking, I'll tell her that later, and then it'll just never happen. That happens with all of us. So generally, and again, I'm optimistic, people think positive things about their colleagues, peers. They're like, oh, that was cool. That was good. They did a good job. I should tell them. And then you just don't have systematically a way for you to do that. As an owner, what you do is go, I recognize my deficient remembering skills, my busy schedule that never allows me to go and say something. And so you just schedule, you be strategic about, I'm going to on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, Tuesdays, I'm going to go tell somebody what I observed last week about them. So it keeps you looking. You know, some people have those notes. I noticed you were, people, I caught you doing something good. Some organizations have that kind of tool available, the high fives. If we write something, coins, I mean, we don't know. We're just flipping coins over here about high fives. Others of you are like, oh man, somebody should tell her about what that is. Yes, they should. But that idea of being strategic about how we're going to go about implementing it, it won't happen accidentally or spontaneously with any consistency. So if you don't go, I'm going to purposefully do this, you'll miss out on that. We need to move on. Third distinct difference between owner and renter. Owners assume responsibility, are reaching for responsibility. Renters are avoiding responsibility. So in 2005, they were giving away cash like candy. And so I was going to try a different approach to landlording. Like I'm going to buy a house in Oklahoma City, smaller house, different clientele, different approach to this thing. I was kind of testing it out. And Capital One just kept sending me checks. Here's $30,000, go spend it. So I went and bought a house. And so I bought this house and I moved the mom. It was like a 800 square foot house, 2-bedroom, been totally rehabbed, right? It was back in that day where everybody was flipping and rehabbing and cash was flowing. And so I bought this house, moved mom and her little boy in, she's a couple years old, and she's not in there 2 weeks, and she calls me and says, hey Greg, there is poop coming out of my faucet. I'm like, that is disgusting. I have personally never seen that. I'm gonna come over and look. So, true story. So I go over there, and sure enough, it is as she says. And I'm like, this is repulsive. Let's put you in a hotel. It's unsanitary. Let's get you out of here. Called Bob, my plumber, and I said, Bob, I got a situation, right? I can snake, but I cannot snake this. So Bob comes over, and that house, like the backyard is big as this. It's longer than this. And he said, well, what we'll do, like if this was the house, he's like, I'll dig right outside the house to get the line because the city sewer line was going through the backyard. I'll dig it up, we'll bring an auger, super snaker, like, woo, it was like, and we'll bust it clear and we'll be good to go. I'm like, awesome, thank you, I leave. About an hour later, Bob calls me, says, Greg, I've got some bad news for you. And I'm like, Bob, I have poop coming out of a faucet. How bad can your news be? And he said, we can't break through. I'm like, what? What does that mean? You can't break through. He's like, it's compacted, solid. I'm like, that is so nasty. And worse than that, he's like, we have to just dig a new line. We have to just dig a whole thing, put a whole new sewer line from your house back there, and it's going to cost $3,000-$4,000. I'm like, Bob, that's over 10% of the value of the house for a sewer line underground that nobody's going to see. He's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Well, since I own the property, I'm like, all right, do it. And I said to Bob while I was on the phone with him, I said, you know, if there was something funny about this, and there's nothing funny about this, I said, I personally never contributed to that line. I personally never utilized the facilities that would have helped back up this thing that I'm now paying thousands of dollars. I'm like, why am I paying for 50 years of other people's crap? It's just something not right about that. But the reality is, as an owner, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do because I bought the house. I get the problems that go along with it. Some of you that are new that have come in have taken over a job and someone said, so-and-so used to have this job and they were doing this and now you get it and you've been here a couple months looking at it and you think, I think they stopped working. Before they left, they stopped working. And now I'm responsible for a pile of crap somebody else left, and my boss is giving me a hard time because it's not done, and it's not on time, and I'm like, I didn't do this. This isn't my mess. And you feel that way, but as an owner, you reach for responsibility. Some of you can look in the room and go, I'm taking care of someone else's mess that's in this room right now. They created the problem, and I'm having to fix it. Right? Bite your lip, right? And it's exasperating because you're like, it's just not fair. And I'm not a big fan of fair, so you don't want to get me off on that. But it's that idea that says, I didn't do this, and yet now I'm being held responsible for it being made right. And as an owner, that's what we do. As a renter, she's staying in a hotel. She's calling me, Greg, take as long as you need. We're eating waffles every morning for breakfast. My kid is in a pool every day. Take all the time you need, right? Because that's exactly what renters do. They're like, man, let me know how that turns out. Right? Hey, I hear you got to work over the weekend. Hope that goes well for you. I'm going out. And it's a total avoiding. Like renters are looking for ways to pass on their problems. Right? Oh, they got this issue. You think you can help with that? And then they disappear. You're like, what happened? Where did they go? And now I've got it. Because that's what owners do. Owners are reaching for responsibility, and they're willing to sacrifice, and they're willing to do it because they value where they're at. Here's what I found about this situation, though, is that, lo and behold, within the same year, I started having HVAC issues. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I realized this house is never going to pay out. The return, it's going to take me decades to just start breaking back even on what my margin is on it. So I ended up selling it. And that's what owners do. Here's what I found. Owners that are continually reaching, they're the go-to people. When we got crisis and we got problems, some of you in this room, you've got a reputation. We come to you, it'll get fixed. Well, you're a whatever it takes kind of person, and thank God for you. We love having you around. But those owners that are reaching for responsibility, they're doing it for a return. Not necessarily a promotion, not necessarily a financial, but something for each of you that are owning and reaching this way, there's a return for you. Validation from your colleagues and peers, recognition by someone in authority, a sense of pride takes you a pretty long way, but at some point, there's got to be an external reward. Again, it could be emotional, could be relational, could be financial. Usually that's not the highest one. It's this idea of being acknowledged and recognized for the contribution we're making is a return. So it's like, I keep sacrificing, I keep doing all this, and nobody notices, and nobody pays attention. These owners don't turn into renters. These owners sell the property. They say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do life this way wherever I'm at. I'm going to go find a house I can invest in that's going to have a return. So these people leave and go find somewhere that appreciates what they're contributing because they're going to bring that mindset and that effort and that same level of personal standard to wherever they're at. And so they go looking for a place that will compensate, not financially, but in an emotional, recognized, some external way that says, this sacrifice is worth it. And for each of us, that's different. There's different things that make us go, it's worth it. Depending on your personality, depending on what you value, depending on the season of life you're in, all of those things. So as owners and working with people that are our go-to people, that reaching for responsibility is admirable, and you can do it for decades when you feel like it's a return. I'm always fixing stuff. I'm always having to make up for what renters destroyed, right? They put holes in the wall. No one has ever come and said, Greg, there's stains on the carpet. Could we pay for new carpet? They don't do that. They like put a chair over it, and when they're moving out, they're like, where did that come from? How did that show up? And they're doing everything, and I'm like, I'll put new carpet in, right? It's just part of the gig. I own the house, so I'm used to spending for it because I've got a long term. But if the house just keeps falling apart on me and it's a money pit, then I'm like, I just got to get rid of this thing. And so that's the way we operate too as leaders, as owners, as people who are reaching for responsibility. And so being mindful, we work with people like that and are working around those is very good. Here's another attribute, and we better get through these last two. Us and them. And you all, right, you're part of a big organization. People are spread out in different locations. I mean, you guys are fortunate to be where you're at together, but there's different floors, different departments, there's billing, there's that thing that's risk complaining, whatever Samara's doing, the different elements like that. And so there's some different, and then there's just leadership. And here's what happens. So I go back to the Kelly Park House. Here, and let me just say it this way. Owners are inclusive, renters are exclusive. So if I just show up at the house where I have done the stove oven deal, and I knock on the door, there's this pitter-patter of stuff, and then there's this vibe. Hey, Greg, what's going on? You know, I'm just stopping by. I was in the neighborhood. Just thought I'd stop by, see how you're doing. Oh, it's really kind of a bad time. Kids and stuff. And it's this. This is what's being communicated to me. Stay away. And I'm standing on the front porch thinking, why are you treating me like this? I own this house. Right? Why are you? I'm taking care of you. I'm providing a place that why are you treating me like this? And it doesn't have to do with my actions, activities, behaviors. It has to do with the renter's mindset that says, we got to keep landlord out. Us renters, we got to stay together because they don't understand what we go through in here. Happens all the time in organizations. People are like, billing, Tony, his group does not even understand what we got going over here. So just leave them out. Exclude them. We got to stay together. Well, leadership, those guys don't remember what it's like. They don't remember what it is to deal directly with our customers, those employers that we talk to, and they're telling us what to do. They don't know. We will make our own decisions and have our own conversations and just keep them at bay. It's a bizarre human thinking that is like that. It's totally a renter's mindset. As an owner, when I did stove and oven, I told the mom, I said, Mom, get on Lowe's, get on Best Buy. Pick out a brand you like. Pick out a color you like. I'm not doing the cheapest, and I'm not doing the most expensive. But send me 3, 4, 5 different kinds of stoves and ovens that you like, and I'll buy one you like. Like, why wouldn't I involve you? You live here. You're the one using it. I want you waking up loving your oven and stove combination every day. So I'm going to involve you in the conversation. That's what owners do. Owners are continually looking for ways to include people, not exclude people. To involve in conversations. Have we thought about that? I don't know. We need to let's ask somebody from that area. Or, hey, we're having some challenge here. Instead of like, ooh, don't tell anybody our challenges we're having. It's like, I wonder if those guys over there are having some challenges. Let's go find out. Let's send an email. Let's talk to somebody. Let's Let's find a resource wherever it's at that we can involve in our process, involve in our decision making, because we want the best. We want to recognize other people in other areas have good thoughts. And this one is so obvious because you literally use that language. They just don't know what we're going through over here. I mean, what do they know? They just sit up there and make their decisions, and then they just go on. And there's this total separation, this total idea of we got to hunker down and stay together because they don't get us. Totally divisive. Very harmful to organizations, particularly it has so many departments, serving so many teams, and there is a need for interdependence. Right? There is a need for people to be working together. Like, hey, listen, how come we're getting customer calls second, third, fourth time, and we're not getting a response? Why aren't we able to respond faster? So say, well, you don't know what we got to deal with over here. Let me just tell you, if you knew, then you'd appreciate. Right? Instead of doing that, it's like, man, we are having a hard time keeping up. I wonder how we could get better. I wonder who could help us get better. Instead of like, well, you don't know what it's like. Well, if you knew, then you wouldn't act that way. And if you thought right? It's all that kind of stuff. And it's like, involve, welcome. This is the only little part. Here's what I have found, and I will say this. This is the part where really solid owners can shift right to vandals. This is the part where sometimes with really good intentions and really good motive, good people go vandal. So, what's your name? Serene. Serene? So, let's say Serene and I work together. And Serene's new, and she doesn't know about the high fives. And Serene comes in, and I'm talking, and I say, hey, listen, you're eventually going to go through a training, and there's this dude, David, over there. There's this girl, Heather. Let me give you a heads up about David and Heather, Serene. I mean, I'm doing this because I care about you. And when you get around David, oh, my God. Obviously, we don't write it down anywhere. It's not in the onboarding process. Nobody has it in orientation. But there are a few things you should know. If you want to excel in the training stuff they're going to put you through, let me give you a heads up about them. Right? I'm just trying to be helpful. I'm just trying to let her know there's some other people in our company that are crazy. And she's going to interface with them. And so I want to help her not be put off, not be put out, not be whatever. Right? All good intentions. I mean, you guys know David, right? I need to give you a little bit of a warning. Heads up. What? I mean, it's like I love her. I'm willing to do this for her. And yet, when I do that, I give her no opportunity to have her own experience with David and form her own relationship and form her own opinion. Now she's tainted. Now I have turned her into a carrier of my perspective. And now, however and whatever David says, she hears and sees it through my filter that's obviously negative. Nobody goes, hey, let me give you a heads up. This guy's awesome. You're going to love him. He's the best ever. Nobody gives you a heads up on awesome. Hey, let me give you a heads up. It's negative. It's ugly. I need to tell you something about them that we don't talk about out loud. We whisper it in the hallways or in the back corners or in the bathrooms, right? And so when I do that, I do it with the right intention, but I totally become a vandal because now I have separated her from a productive, healthy, working relationship with the guy that I may have issues with, I may have challenges with, but it also could be me. But of course, I don't think that way. It's all him, right? He's the one with issues and problems, surely. So, by helping Serene, I've just vandalized her opportunity to benefit from that relationship. Good people do that regularly. Whole teams. Let me tell you about the IT department. Whew, IT department. Let me tell you about Tony and billing. Now, there's a story for you. I mean, you ain't got enough time for me to tell you about Tony and billing. Whew! Right? It's that kind of stuff that we do. Good motive and good intention doesn't mean it's right. Good motive, good intention doesn't mean it's right. I can be sincere as I am with her. Genuinely, like, I'm trying to help you, girl. I want you to survive. I like you. I want you to survive here and not be put off and put out. So I'm going to just give you a heads up. And I create a filter in her experience now that she cannot remove. Even with years of experience then, she'll always have this because she trusts me. And I'm doing it to be helpful. And it's very sincere. And yet it's destructive to teams and organizations, and people do it all the time. Good people, bought in, committed to the organization, committed to their teams, do it all the time about other teams. And it's a total renter's mindset. It's destructive, it's harmful, it's divisive, it's on the verge of evil. And yet it's done with such a sincere desire to be helpful. So it's tricky. So being mindful of it is very essential because you'll keep creating these divisions. And in a large organization like this, it cannot just be siloed, it can be divided within silos. Right? Even within the areas that you serve, you guys can create all kinds of wedges and separations with all good intention because we got to stay together because nobody knows like we know. And it's really harmful. So I will just ask you to think about this. There's boxes on the things. If you're writing on there, we won't take the time to go around and have this conversation at the moment. Ways you can involve and include. There is a space for you to write down, how could I be intentional about involving people? Everyone's got problems to solve, challenges to overcome, situations to find better ways, and instead of just keeping it all inside, what are ways we could access other people cross-departmentally that maybe could be helpful? Giving thought to that, and maybe some of you already have some good processes that you do that, so you keep yourself exposed and you keep yourself listening to voices and kind of keeping the back row, macro, right? Back row, macro. We get the bigger perspective of the whole. How do we let that infiltrate who we are and how we're doing and serving our customers, the conversations we're having? How can I benefit from what others are bringing to the table in their areas? That's a really worthy conversation to have for you and your team. But we won't have that now. I will let you jot down a thought on it to consider and maybe follow up after the fact. You know, when you have a day like this, it's really just about conversation starting. Things I'm talking about, the things you'll hear in content everywhere, it doesn't change your life. It doesn't change your behavior. It doesn't change anything. Tomorrow you go back to work and you're like, well, that was fun. That was cool. There's some good stuff. It's all about the initiating of a conversation. Now, how are you going to continue the conversation within your team, within your area, that then leads to behavior change? Right? This day doesn't change behavior, but it sets things in motion that if you'll be committed to each of you taking some good notes, having some good takeaways from each session you're going to be in, and then you come back together and go, what's the most practical thing we could start putting into motion tomorrow or the next day? That's how you benefit from a conference, is not trying to get it all and have all this data. It's what is a takeaway, getting together with my team going, all right, what's everybody's best takeaway? What's one out of all of that we can start doing something about today when you have this meeting tomorrow or you have your conversations the next time you get together as a team. It's all about continuing the conversation and exploring the ideas that are put out in this session and the sessions you'll hear today that will be great content. Right, so it's finding the one or two thing that you go, let's all rally around that and let's give some attention to us implementing some behavioral change towards it that we can really see a difference. Because as you know, oftentimes people experience conferences and they get a lot of good information, but no behavior change. Nothing really sticks or has any impact long term because we're not intentional about going, let's target one or two behaviors or one or two ideas we heard and let's go deep on that. Let's discover that for ourselves, how it fits for our world. And that's on you. That's your responsibility to kind of nurture the conversations that percolate up as the most relevant for your team and what you're trying to accomplish in your area. So the last one is this: owners see the whole house, renters see rooms. So I have a great house in Copperfield, just north of Kelly Park. And it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,100 square foot, 3 bedrooms are up, 4th bedroom, that kind of model, master downstairs, living, all that, upstairs bathroom, 3 bedrooms. And I had 5 college girls move in. I'm like, college girls. Mama's paying for it, and they just roll in, roll out. And they're sorority. It was a sorority girls. They were all from the Alpha Gamma Delta house. And I was like, yes. AGD. I'm like, I will put an AGD West on the garage. We'll have a big AGD. We'll just keep girls rolling through for decades. We'll be the AGD house that gets you off campus. Such was not the case. But when these 5 girls moved in, 3 took the 3 bedrooms upstairs, and then 2 shared the master downstairs. Well, my girl in the upstairs middle room, I will never forget, she pinkified the room. When you went in it, it was like this pink explosion, like feathers and paint and I don't know what. It was just pink. Like you went in, you were like, whoa. And then right when you walked in, like right by her door was a shrine to her boyfriend. So like cutouts of formals and all these beach things. And so when you walked in, you kind of like bowed, like I recognize your presence here. I get it. You're in love. So, but it was just this collage of boyfriendness. And so she loved her room, right? She was like all about her room. So when the 2 girls who were in the master downstairs took an iron and put it on the carpet, not once but twice, and left these beautiful iron marks, my girl in the pink room, she don't care. What does it matter to her? It's not her room. She doesn't care what takes place in the master because it's not her room. And people in organizations, let me clarify, as an owner, I love every room the same. I like the laundry room as much as I like the master bedroom, as much as I like the upstairs bathroom, as much as I like the living. Rooms have no value to me except that they make up the house. And here's what people have a tendency to do. Get really excited about their room. They love their room. They work there every day. They spend lots of time there. They've decorated it and personalized it. And their room, your department, your area that you're serving in, somehow, some way feels like it's the most important room in the house. Well, of course it is, because you're there, right? It has this sensibility like, well, I love my room and my people because that's where I'm supposed to love. That's where I work. That's where I spend every day. That's where I exert my energies and produce. I mean, I'm happy for the other rooms, but they're not as important as mine. And that's a renter's mindset. Just so you hear this, that's a renter's mindset. An owner, I don't love any room over any other room. I tell my girl in the pink room, honey, take your pink room outside of this house. Right? You think your room's so important? Take it outside the house. It's got no electricity, it's got no plumbing, it's got no roof, it's got nothing. You got no entryway. It's a box in a field. Your room has value in the context of the house, not on its own. And yet because people live in their room, they really think their room's hot tamale. It's the stuff. It's everything that should be. And it's not. The only reason your department has value is because it's part of a bigger house. And what people have a tendency to not do is not value renters. When they don't value the other rooms, it shows up this way. When another department that's not your room messes up and it affects you, blah, about that other room. See, when you love every room the same, then when another room needs help, you're just as willing to go help there as you are in yours. This element is total heart, right? It's not about function. You have a job description. You have responsibilities to do. This idea of an owner is a total heart set that you say, I genuinely value, even though I don't work there, even though I don't know those people personally, I genuinely value that room as much as mine. It's a decision you make, and it shows up when that room needs something or you get asked to go do there. Oh, I don't want to go with those guys. I got to move. And it starts showing up, right? Because it's a perspective and an attitude. It's not about the function. But as an owner, you really want to position your mind and heart to say, I genuinely value. It's a weird sensation that happens. 3 minutes left. When leaders at any level of the organization legitimately value other departments, because oftentimes people think the best thing I can do for my team is love my team the most. And it's not. It's when you learn to love the house the most, the house that you're giving value to your room, it makes you more valuable in your room. It's a bit of a paradox when you're working with executive leadership teams and then leadership teams at every level. When you turn their hearts and minds to be committed to the team that's over this house first, that's hard for people to do because we get a lot of fulfillment out of serving our room and what our team accomplishes in our room. So it's a big ask, I get that, to say, I need you to value all the others. It makes you more valuable in your room. And I have lots of examples and stories of people that have made that shift, and it's when they think they have communication issues, when they think they have process issues, when they think they have organizational structure issues. It's none of that. All of that is a result of how people view the whole house compared to their room. You have all those things when you love your room more than every other room in the house. When you shift that, you'd be amazed at how communication flows, how the process streamlines, how the organizational structure makes sense. It's fantastic. But it's rooted in you as owners valuing the whole, not just your little room. So the other question, it's all about perspective. You know, people even say, welcome to my world. Come on into my world. Because it is what consumes you, but it's just a perspective. So you think about that. I skipped over that one. Think about where you and your team how you can value the whole house. Again, that's another thought to have. How can we show value? It really starts a lot with your perspective, but then you can, again, there's a lot of practical things you can put in motion to help you learn to appreciate other rooms equally like you love yours. And then so I'll end on this question. Where are you renting? Right, so in our 5 distinct differences, thinking about that, self-awareness is always the best first step, right? Where is it that I'm probably just kind of biding time, renting, and not full-on owning my responsibilities and the whole, right? We've got mission, we've got values, we've got vision. How am I letting that impact how I see the total house that I'm serving in? And then where am I an owner that I can help others become owners? Because if you point out people are renters, it's not for the sake of eviction. You're like, you suck on several levels. Let me show you how bad you are. No, thank you. Anytime you notice that, the point is, all right, how can I help transform renters back into owners? Eviction is never the option. Is never the role and road we want to take. It's if I notice this about a colleague of mine, a peer of mine, how can I help them shift back in there? And so there's lots of, again, strategic approaches you can take with that.